transporting things in and out, what are the best routes so it doesn't do the wear and tear on our regular roads. So it's a lot of things to consider, but I believe moving forward, I see doing that in conjunction with the people. And so they can be involved or not involved as much as possible, but I am going to lay it out there and open the door for involvement.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Beachside Talks. I'm your host, Kobe, with a very special guest today.
My name is Stacie Mitchell, and I am the mayor-elect for Stamps, Arkansas.
All right. How does it feel to be the mayor-elect?
I guess I'm still trying to soak it all in. I think for me, as far as my feelings-wise, it's something that I had planned for. It's something I had put on my agenda, so it feels like a goal to accomplish, but the work is just starting, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. You said you planned for it. How long did you plan on this?
I would say really actively planning within the last year, but the idea came to me in a dream. Just me doing my praying and asking God for directions and where He wants me to be, because He's allowed me to do and see a lot of things and allowed me to reach a lot of my goals. And so at this point in life, when you're getting close to 50 or whatever, you start to think about meaningful. And after raising your children and things of that nature, you start to do more deeper reflection on life and making sure that you're purpose driven. And so for me, like I said, it came to me in a dream during that time when I was praying and fasting and asking God for what the next thing that He wanted me to do.
Praise be to God. So tell about your journey, how you ended up having a dream. Like, what's your story, where you start from? I know you from Stamps, so journey out of Stamps back here to running, having a dream.
Wow, my journey, I left Stamps when I was probably sixth grade. Left and moved away, came back like my ninth grade year and then moved back. And lived in Iowa for probably about 30-something years or so. Lived in California for a little while. But all my education for as secondary education, post-secondary education, all of that was in the state of Iowa. I attend North High, was very active there, had great people. I just been blessed. I had great people in my life. Still have a great mentor who's now 90. That was my school librarian. So it's ironic that we would be in a library, but my school librarian who really took me on and showed me a lot of things and opened up doors for me. Just by me just saying, this is what I would like to do. And those doors were open for me. But I would say going to college, I went to college at DMAC. I went to community college. I went to community college for a couple years because I believed in working things in increments. 4 years seemed like a long time to commit. 6 years seemed like an extremely long time. So I thought I would just do I knew I could commit to 2 years. Yeah. So I said, okay, I was going to do 2 years. So I did 2 years at a community college, went on 2 years at Iowa State, and then I went on and got my master's in public administration. And then decided to go back to school and be more a part of my kids' life and became a teacher. And so I taught in Des Moines, and I taught also I taught in Des Moines. I trained teachers in Des Moines, just kind of worked myself up from that, and then went on to Arizona. In Des Moines, I started off as business education, so I taught business education classes mainly because one of the things I did, and it's just like a long story, but one of the things I did prior to becoming a teacher is that I used to be a director of it was called Iowa Women's Business Center, which focus on creating and working with individuals who are interested in starting or expanding a business and helping to acquire SBA loans and things of that nature. So I worked at that nonprofit for a while, teaching the business education classes, being responsible for the whole state in the different centers we had scattered throughout the state to really help people in the state of Iowa to become entrepreneurs and be successful at that. And so I thought if I was going to go back to school for anything to help with education, actually me going into education was a trip. I took a trip to Africa. I took Nigeria, which is where I'm from. My friends always told me that. I was like, nah, I got to be from Ghana. But actually, I'm from, I later found out when I did Ancestry DNA that I'm from Nigeria and Mali. But I took a trip to Africa in 2005, February of 2005. And when I went to Africa, it felt like home. And then when I was there, a part of my prayer was, Lord, what if I got to come back to this country to do something? And what is it that the people need here? And so there's several things that I noticed they needed. One was medical, and then the other part was education. And I knew if they had those two things that was in place, I had to figure out how I was going to do one or the other. And so I thought education was an easier route since I was already teaching and training people how to do that. And I came across a lot of women at the marketplace, and that was their source of income. They was, making things, growing things and selling at the market. Some of the kids was not attending school because they had to be at the market to help their parents. So when I went back to Iowa, after being in Africa for about a month, I said, well, I want to do something in education. And that's the way if I can teach young people, and I saw a lot of young people there that was in entrepreneurs. And I said, if I can teach young people about entrepreneurship at an earlier age, it will have a greater impact on them long term in combating poverty. And so that's what I decided to do. I said I could go back into education. So I went back into education. Went for a couple more years, got a full scholarship because at the time, Iowa was very short on minority teachers. And so I got a scholarship, went on to do that, and then, the rest is history because I created all kinds of things in Iowa. One was we did a lot of entrepreneurship, so I partnered with the Jacobson Institute at the University of Iowa to allow entrepreneurship, for students to be involved more in entrepreneurship, pitching their business idea, being able to access their curriculum. In addition to that, I created the first apprenticeship program with the collaboration of Des Moines Area Community College, North High School, which is a school I graduated from, but I was able to teach at. And students was able to take my class, where it was in marketing, business entrepreneurship, take those classes and actually get college credit for it, high school credit for it. And then in the summer, I would actually create an opportunity for them to be able to do a apprenticeship program, and they can get paid. So it was just a win-win for the community. It was a win-win for the school and for the students. So many of my students actually took my class and was able to graduate up to like 9 or 12 credits before even leaving high school.
That's amazing. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking about if I would have had some of those opportunities, or some of my classmates would have had some of the opportunities, how things might have turned out different for a lot of us. So, as you being married, do you plan on bringing some of those programs to STEM?
Definitely planning on bringing some of the programs to STEM. One of those is definitely the apprenticeship program for students who are actually interested in, it could be starting a business, but it could be that someone may be interested in graphic art. And we will find somebody in the community that they could actually work with, get some hands-on experience, learn how that works, but able to find grant funding so that students can get paid. So be able to provide some sort of service so that students can get experience working in the field that they may be interested in, but also helping build our community. Because what I do see in our community, we have a lot of folks who've been in positions doing things, and they're not training the young folks. So if something were to happen to people, then everything kind of dies out. So one of the things I talked with Mr. Goodwin, Tommy Goodwin, I said, who are you training? Who are you training to take over this paper? Nobody. I said, that's something that we need to look at, because in order for the community to continue to grow, we have to have the older folks that come in and teach our younger folks. And again, we can learn a lot from young people too, especially with the technology. But we have to keep reaching back and teaching our young folks about the culture, about the community, about the importance, so we can keep moving forward. And so apprenticeship is definitely one of those programs, and living in the city and having had the amenities of the city, looking at the parks and recreation and things of that nature. We used to have some of that back in Stamps, but we created it ourselves. Like the older folks created it so we can continue to have it, so whether it was softball or basketball at the park, whatever that was. So being able to bring some of those things in place, I think that we need to bring back the sports. We need to bring back the organized sports for our students, but we also need to bring in arts. We also need to think about technology and how to embrace that. So when I think of a park and recreation program, I am so wanting to see that come in full fold, because I believe that that's going to be very important for our young folks. It could provide employment for our young people during the summer, but it could also provide enrichment opportunities for our young people. And then also bringing back some, they used to call it Lumber Day. You know what I'm saying? Before your time.
Lumber Day.
Yes, yes. So bringing back some of those things, because we got rich heritage here, but we don't necessarily, some of it kind of fades away as people die. So being able to bring some of those things back, we got a nice segment of older population, and folks remember those days that we can tap into and talk to them about how things should run. And then, so park and recreation is definitely one. Apprenticeship programs. I would love to have a youth council. So just like we have a city council, I would like to have a youth council to get the youth input about things that they would like to see in the community, things that they could take leadership roles on, looking at recycling programs, being able to clean up our city, and let that be a group effort. If you're out there picking it up, you're not going to be the one who want to throw it out the window the next day. So just being able to bring folks together for that. Of course, cleaning up our city, which is going to require a group effort from the homeowners as well as from the city. So a lot of good things. We talked about food pantries and being able to provide services to the elderly. Most people are not able to necessarily get out, or they may not have family members around them on a regular basis. So being able to have something where we can check on them and make sure that they're good. So things of that nature.
Okay. Well, hearing you speak, I have two questions. So the first one, going back to what you're going to bring to the table and stuff, I'm hearing you talk about job creation for the youth, which is great. But what about those who are the head of households, or like the parents and stuff, that also need job creation? Because I saw you were tagged on a post on Facebook about how they don't want Lafayette County High School to be, what you call it? I don't want to say the wrong word.
We would be shut down.
Shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as an alumni, I don't want it either, but that comes from not any money being made in the city from what I can see. Now I'm on the outside looking in and I don't see it. So what are your plans for job creation for adults?
Well, we have companies that are here in the area that are providing employment in actually other cities. We do have quite a few home-based businesses that are here. So I believe that we have quite a few businesses that are already here that are providing services. I believe that we need to create a hub or a platform for them to grow, similar to what I did with ISED, with a small business, working with the Small Business Administration, working with local banks, working with those areas, is really to help those folks be able to expand. Because we do have quite a few businesses here in the city. But I think a lot of it too is looking at what other opportunities are available. What other partnerships can we bring in the city? What are some other, we talk about a grocery store. Everybody's talking about a grocery store. If I recall, I think we've been talking about it for about 15 years or so. But looking at a grocery store and seeing how we can bring that here, looking and seeing how we can keep our dollars in the city. My hope is that a dollar can circulate through this city at least 7 times before leaving. And so in order for that to happen, that means that we need to be able to get our hair done, our nails done, our feet, the pedicures. We need those amenities. We need those services that are here. Our food, we need those businesses that are here. I think for us, having large manufacturers that left the city really hurt it. And so we have to look and see what could we bring here, and what are the things that we can negotiate to have happen, whether it's a tax break for the companies that come here. If a company is looking to come here, then partnering with that company to give them some type of tax breaks in return for having a percentage of the workforce to be from this area. And so really putting stipulations on people who want to do business with us and who say they want to do business for us. We just can't allow just everybody to kind of come in and do what they want. Mm-hmm. I think we need to put stipulations on that. But I think as a community, we need to start thinking about what are some things that we want, that we demand for. Because many of us are, like for me, I'm local, but a lot of folks are driving 20, 30 minutes one way every day to go to work. And we need daycare, which we have some of those businesses that are coming. We have a business like that that's coming up. We need, and in return, we need after school programs. So we need to have, you're talking about the school system and what the school is doing. The school can't do it alone. So then what are some other things that we can do in the community to provide that? And so I believe that students being able to apply the things they learn at school and be able to apply it outside of school is so important. Because if they know, they took cooking classes out of schools, but
they did?
Yeah, they did. That I know of. We had it in junior high, so.
Miss Smith taught us how to bake. Miss Smith. So, and I graduated in 2015, so
they might have it over at the high school. I haven't been over. They might, but we had it in junior high.
And Miss Brady was there. I forgot Miss Brady. If you see this, don't be mad. I forgot about you too. I didn't know they took it out. They might have.
They done took a lot of stuff out of school. I don't know if they took the cooking out, but I know they took a lot of things out of school. I know they took technology, industrial technology out. So that's gone. So kids are not making things. So there's a lot of things that are now pushed to the community college that a lot of those things were the things that kept kids in school that normally wouldn't be here. And so we have to figure out how to create real world experiences for students. But you had mentioned something about the school and the Facebook post that was posted on a school in, I think it's northern Arkansas, that was shut down.
Marble, yeah.
That was shut down due to their underperformance for over a period of time, and very similar conditions, very similar to our conditions, which a lot of new teachers, decline in scores for a long period of time. I believe it's been over 5 to 7 years where there's been a decline in the ACT expire scores. You have the high turnover, just a lot of the same conditions that we are facing here at the school. As a matter of fact, I want to say it was last week or so, I had put out had a staff meeting and shared that information with my staff and said, right now, there's no way for us to go up. There's no way for us to go anywhere now but up. And there's no more excuses. We can't blame COVID. We can't blame poverty. We can't blame all of these other things. We have to figure out what it is that we need to do during the time that we have students. And that's good classroom management, that's understanding standards, that's great teaching practice. There are some things that we can do to turn this school around, and those are the things that I plan on doing. And those are the things that I've done before in the past. I worked with underperforming schools in Iowa that turned around. I worked in an A school, they give you grades. So I done worked in an A school, I done worked in a B school. I worked in an F school too, but that F school got turned around to a B. And so those are the types of things that we have to do, and we have to really look at that as a community. And when I say a community, we're talking about parents, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about the people at the local grocery store. We're talking about just everybody in general, but also looking at what are the benefits that we can gather from the state. The state is not in the business of shutting schools down. They're not. However, you can't continue to allow a generation of students to continue to go through life and not know how to read and write.
Yeah, I be seeing it on Facebook a lot, and compared to when I was in school to what I see now, it's a lot less hands-on from the parents. Like, when I was in school, parents made sure, hey, make sure y'all do this, make sure y'all did this. Hey, we need y'all to do y'all work. We used to have, I remember President Obama was elected, they had us writing out scripts and things about the government so we'll know what's actually going on. I don't see things like that, And the parents almost took more pride in it than the students did when it came to us learning stuff about the government, politics, money, things like that. I feel like but nowadays, a lot of that is missing. A lot of parents don't know how to encourage their children to want to learn, so they putting it all on the teachers in school. And without their support, teachers in schools can't really help the students learn.
This is what I would say. And I've been on all kinds of sides. I've been I've been a parent, raising 2 male children. I've been on the side where I'm looking at my great nieces and nephews go through school. Now I have a grandbaby that's 3 that will be going to school. And what I could say is that parents are doing the best that they can with what they have, because we have a different generation of parents. So if we think about parenting now compared to when you was going, definitely when I went to school, most had 2-parent households. Most had, for me, I had generations. I had not only my mom and my daddy, but I had my aunt and my uncle. I had my auntie. I had my grandma, my grandpa. So if my mom and daddy wasn't there to pick me up, I had an aunt, an uncle, a grandma. Like, I had somewhere to go. I don't see that all necessarily happening here. What we have now, we might have grandparents who are now raising a generation that they are learning. They have no clue about. We have parents who are fairly young, who are now raising kids. So they're actually raising each other. It's just a lot of, and then you got poverty, and you got generational poverty. Generational poverty. When you have generational poverty, it has an impact on what you see and what you don't get to see. It limits your exposure to the world. And then when you got poverty, you got an age gap between not only the teachers who are teaching the kids, because some of the teachers are very young. They're like 23, 24 years old. I'm used to my teacher being like super old. I thought was like 30, 40 years
I
old.
thought it was just old people like me that said, like, my teachers couldn't have been this young.
No, they wasn't.
Because I'm seeing a lot of people I went to school with, their teachers, and I'm like, my teachers couldn't have been that young. I didn't see them like that. I saw them as like 40, 50 something years old.
Mhm.
Some of them 70, 80.
And they held themselves, they held themselves in a certain way where you like, I mean, I really didn't see many of my teachers unless I went to church or somewhere like that. I really didn't see them out and about mostly. But our teachers now, a lot of them are more younger. So there could be somebody's brother or sister. My sister, between my two sisters, I think, I got more than two, but the last couple, I'm 15 years older than one, and I'm 13 years older than one. Some of these teachers that I have are just like that with some of the kids here. So they just like, oh, you're like my big sister. No. But it's a lot of dynamic that really goes into that. Poverty plays a piece in it. COVID, mental health, a lot of things that we're seeing in our community, we're seeing with drugs and those things. A lot of that are mental health issues, and especially in the Black community, we really haven't dealt with that, and so you see a lot. I mean, and you see a lot. And not saying that it didn't exist then. It's more prevalent now. It's more prevalent now because people are talking about it more. And then of course, you got the internet and technology and all of this stuff, so it shines light on things a lot more and a lot faster. So I don't know, it's just, we do have a lot of work to do, but it can be done, and I believe it has to be done in a collective effort with the schools, with our city, and I'm just blessed to be in both worlds.
Okay. Well, what do you see? How do you see your first 90 days going?
My first 90 days?
First night, January 1st through April, I want to say 2nd, 3rd?
As a mayor?
Yes,
Really, I would say the first 90 days is really going to be more of getting to know who my staff members are and learning about what their strengths and opportunities would be. Also getting to know more specific. I like when I went out and I talked door to door, I talked with a lot of people, but I want to do it in a more uniform fashion, having some community meetings to have discussions about where we're at now and what is it that the community would like to see. And then also to get partnership with the community. I hear this is what you're saying that you want. Now, what do you bring to the table? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to volunteer? Are you willing to use your talents and gifts to do X, Y, and Z? So really just having a lot of conversations with the community, while at the same time making sure that I have that budget understood, and then also collaborating with some folks up in Little Rock, some folks in the county, and then in the southern region about what funding opportunities that are available so that we can attack those at a county and a regional level. So looking at some of those things and then bringing that back to the community, because there's been talks about all kinds of things. They talked about a lithium plant. They've talked about building prisons. The state of Arkansas is wanting to build several prisons. And so what would be an area for that? Could our economy here benefit from that? Yes. But is that what the community wants? Is that what the community sees? And so we have to have those type of conversations. And then if you have a prison here and you have workers that are coming here, do we have the other facilities to help accommodate that? So people are coming in for training. Do we have hotels to accommodate that? So they're not driving to Magnolia or Texarkana or Hope. Do we have a grocery store? Or how are the conditions of our roads? So when you're looking at transporting things in and out, what are the best routes? So it doesn't do the wear and tear on our regular roads. So it's a lot of things to consider, but I believe moving forward, I see doing that in conjunction with the people. And so they can be involved or not involved as much as possible, but I am going to lay it out there and open the door for involvement.
How would you describe your temperament?
My temperament? I would say there's nothing about me that's moderate or, I mean, I usually go full force with things, and then I have to go back and just kind of slow it down. So I would say that my temperament would be, ooh, very assertive, yet patient, if I can say that. Very assertive, very but patient, uh, with a clear vision of what I have a clear vision. Like I definitely have a clear vision of what I think stamps should look like, and then I know, and I've kind of mapped it out almost over a 10-year period.
How would your students describe you as a principal?
Oh, my babies describe me as, that would be a good idea.
Because I know we used to like Miss Griffith. We had a vice principal who's the one we didn't want to see.
Uh-huh.
We'd rather see the principal before we saw the vice principal. And it was even like that in high school, even though we loved Miss Opal and Coach Downs.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me go talk to Miss Opal first. Are you the one of the principals they want to see, or would they rather see the vice principal?
Yeah, they definitely want to see me. I mean, and I think that is being because I listen to them, and they know that I got a process of how I deal with things. I don't just take an adult's word for something. I don't just take a student's word for something. I would say, tell me your side, and you tell me your side, and then I try to figure out what's happening or what's the missing piece or all of that. And then of course they know if I have to do a video camera, I'll pull a video camera out and look at it. But they know that they have a voice. And I think that's the biggest thing. My teacher know that they have a voice, but my students know that they have a voice as well. And they know that I respect both. And so they know that if I come to them and talk to them about something, I'm going to do it in respect. I'm not doing all that yelling and screaming and just not, I'm just saying, hey, what's going on? I'm always going in with a question versus where I've already made a conclusion about it. I won't do that.
So you're going to take that approach as a mayor too, right?
Well, yeah, I would definitely say as a mayor, it will be a lot of, I know a lot about the history here already because I lived here for a long time, but I've also, even though I was away, I came back home at least once or twice a year because my aunt Bobby and my uncle Billy Joe, I made sure that I came to see them, then my grandma when she was living. So I understand what has happened and I've seen the ups and the downs. But it would nice to know what it looks like from somebody else's perspective. Because I have mine, but I would like to know what that looks like for Mr. White, what that looks like for Miss Thompson. I would like to know what their experience has been and what they would like. So very collaborative.
What do you think your biggest struggle will be as mayor? Are you planning on balancing both the mayor job and the principal job?
Yes,
Right.
most definitely.
What do you think would be your biggest struggle outside of trying to juggle both?
Ooh, my biggest struggle. I think my biggest struggle for me is slowing down. It's hard for me. My mom's here. It's hard for me to when I'm passionate about something. It's really hard for me to stop. Like I can go to sleep, but my brain's still going. So I have to sit down and write up notes. So I think for me, the hardest thing for me is to be able to stop and say, okay, we're going to take a vacation. I've been better with it. I've been so much better with it over the last few years. But definitely for me, it's putting the stop button on.
What you got going?
Yeah, but I love it, so it doesn't necessarily feel like work, if that makes sense.
I feel like that's your entrepreneurial background. All right, it needs to be done, so why not just do it now? And you feel like if I take a break, it might be hard for me to get back this passion, so let me keep the passion so I can give it 100% of what I got. But I feel like hearing you talk, you're kind of a perfectionist.
That used to be my thing when I was in high school, because you get your GT. I was a GT student, so But that was one of my biggest things was perfection. But I've learned that, I tell my teachers all the time, we learn by doing. Before I would have to research it and then go and then I have all these drafts and then I present. Now I don't have to do all that. I can actually just say, okay, well, we're gonna put this together, we're gonna look at it, we're gonna do this, we're just gonna keep moving forward. So a lot of the things that I know that's gonna have to happen, of course we're gonna do research, we're gonna do those pieces, but a lot of it is we just gotta do it because a lot of things haven't been done here before. And so it's like, we're gonna do it, we're gonna try it, we're gonna learn from it, and we're gonna keep perfecting it. So I think we have to just be in that mindset of just being willing to put yourself out there and say, you know, if we make a mistake, we're gonna learn from it. If I hurt you or offend you, I'm gonna say I'm sorry, and let's go on, let's move on. And sometimes people get stuck. Like when I talk to some people, and I'm so glad that my childhood was not was not bad here. Like I wasn't one of the kids that they would classify as bad, because I don't really believe in bad kids. I just believe in bad behavior. But growing up, people say, well, them kids are bad, you know, they bad. And I'm just glad that I wasn't one of the kids that was classified as bad, because I know, being from a small town, whatever, you could have did that at 6. But you now 26, and somebody still classified you of something you did when you were 6, and I'm just like, oh my God! And so I'm glad that my grandma used to always say, a good name is better than all treasures, all money, all whatever. And I didn't understand that as a kid, but now as an adult, and now that I have children and I have grandchildren, I understand that more. Because my kids can really literally walk in a place in Iowa or Arizona, and they say, oh, you Stacie's son, or you say, oh, you're good, or you know, they get a pass, or they get something, but that's having a good name and being and doing right by the people. So I don't know. So I said all that. I don't know why I said that, but I got off on it. But I just remember just growing up here. And I don't want that to be, and I tell that to my kids all the time here. We starting over. Like, once you leave out this office, yes, I'm going to call your parent. Yes, we're going to do this. Yes, you're going to have a consequence. But when you leave here, you got a clean slate. So you go back in there. This is what I'm expecting you to do when you go back in the classroom. And to them, they're like, what? You know, they don't get it, because some stuff just kind of
piles on.
Yes, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. And so I think that's what we have to do with stamps. I mean, I think that's what we have to do with the city. That's what we have to do with school. Yeah, this is where we know where we're at, but moving forward, we're moving in this direction. And we might make a mistake, we might make but we're going to dust ourselves off and we're going to go back at it. And I think that's the attitude is, because I just feel like the city's been beat down for so long and been stripped of resources for so long that people kind of lost hope, or even have a desire they want something better, but it's just, what can we do?
Yes, I have an adverse thought pattern about a lot of stuff. Not a lot of stuff, but when it comes to landmarks and stamps, bulk and removal, I feel like we've given a lot of credit to people who didn't do as much as they could have done in the community. So it kind of made us comfortable with, all right, people giving the bare minimum, and given from what you're talking about, I feel like you're far from it. The bare minimum is not even in your sights for what you got planned. And I thank you for that, for the stamps going forward in 2023 until how long you are there. Thank you. And I know you got somewhere to be, so last question. What motivates you?
What motivates me? I would say the greatest motivation that I have at this point is knowing for a fact that I am here for a divine purpose and reason. Because if it was me, I would probably be somewhere else, like in some other city doing
Nigeria.
Yeah, yeah, you know, Nigeria for sure, Ghana for 2, Kenya for 3. So yes, so I would definitely be somewhere else. But what motivates me more than anything is knowing that God has to have his people in many places. And it's just not in the church. And what motivates me is to know that I'm doing God's will. And when long as I'm doing his will and living out the purpose that he's designed for me to do, then he's taking care of everything else. Because my babies, of course, keeps me on track. I say my babies, my son 26 and 22. They used to be my motivation, you know, when I think about that. And then my grandbaby. But God, you know, he said, cast your cares on me, and I'll take care of you, pretty much what he said. And so that's what I've done. And I know that by me just doing what he's called me to do, that he's going to take care of everything else. And so all of my hopes and my dreams and all of these things that I have in my head, I've put them at his feet. And I said, use me. Use me how you see fit, because you've allowed me to do everything that a little girl from Stamps, Arkansas could ever hope and wish for. Everything. And when I say everything, everything. So you've allowed me to do this in this lifetime. The least I can do is to give myself to you completely. And it motivates me because I see his work. I see by following him and being obedient to him that he opens up doors that I could never. And he's going to open up many doors for this city. They just don't know it yet. Like, they have no clue about the doors that's going to be open for Stamps. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And I hope you be recording it and figure out how you're going to use your talents and things.
Me and you got to be more communication. You got to accept my friend request on Facebook. You can't just keep messaging, because I need
you know, I was like, I don't know. So I have to know every last one of my friends on Facebook, however many thousands I got, I actually know them. So if I haven't accepted your friend request, that's because I don't personally know you. Did that make sense? Because people say that all the time. They're like, oh, well, you know, you got all these friends. I know every last one of them. Like, literally. So if I know you, then...
You know me. Chris.
Yeah, Chris, son, or your grandmother. So we good. So then I'll accept your friend request.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I thank you. If you have anything else you want to tell the people who's listening?
I appreciate you. And I appreciate you reaching out to me.
I appreciate you responding back, calling me instead of just... Yeah.
That's just me. That's just who I am.
I like it, because I hate texting too. I rather call about it. I don't like calling on Facebook, so I just DM her. I don't forget who I told. Ain't Shantake. She said, just message her on here. She'll more than likely respond to you, so I'm glad you responded.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate your talent. And I just say that the best is yet to come for Stamps. We are going to have to work on this together. So I just appreciate just everybody for the support. Everybody that came out and voted, allowed my sign to be in your yard, talk with folks about what you remember or know about me or any of that. I appreciate all of that. I pray that we will continue to move in unison as we continue to rebuild our community. We can't expect anybody else to do it. We have to do it for us. And so, and that's everybody. So you got your degree, you got your talent, so you can come down here whenever, but we're remote. We can do things remote. So we don't always have to be face to face. So we're going to open up all those doors of communication in every aspect that we can. So if you can't actually participate in person, we will open up things for Zoom. So thank you so much.
No problem. And thank y'all for tuning in. As always, don't keep score, keep scoring.